Hello, friends. I am Chevee. Welcome to my shed. How are you today? How's life in your world? How's things where you are? I hope it's all fantastic and wonderful. Everything here is great. And yesterday we talked about the changes that I want to make to my Viking game and the reasons that I want to make those changes. And part of the reason is the pacing of the game is way off and it needs to be tightened up. And I think that one easy way to tighten it up is to kind of do like a more generalized resource management type engine with attracts and various ways of spending those resources. And in saying all of that, Carl in 20 Games said something that has been on my mind for a while now, and I want to highlight. And I didn't bring my phone. I don't have the exact quote, but Carl said something to the effect of, "Be careful. What you're describing sounds like every other game out there, and don't just reinvent, right? Don't just create the same thing." And I want to touch on that because it's been something that I've thought about for a long, long time. I think, personally, the way that I look at game development, game design is it is an iterative process, and we iterate on what we know, right? There are a there are a finite amount of ways that cards, dice, tiles, boards, all those sorts of things can interact. And what we try to do as game developers, game designers, is to find a unique combination of those elements that makes something new, right? But all of those things are still just iterations of things that have come before. There hasn't been a large trend in gaming since deck building. Deck building was the last big boom, right? It was something that happened, it was new and it was fresh, it was a brand new idea, and it exploded into a whole genre of game. And we haven't had anything like that in a very long time. And what I'm describing with the Viking game is a pretty generic tableau building resource management game. And yes, it is very much like all of the other ones out there, because all of the other ones out there are just reiterations of those same mechanics, the same as deck builders, right? A few stand out and a few rise to the top. And I'm going to pick on a game here that I don't necessarily intend to pick on. Like, it's a fine game and I play it and I own it and I really enjoy it, but it's Wingspan. Wingspan is just a resource management game that has tableau building, and there's really nothing special about that game at all. I think that the reason I think the unique combination of the designer and the theme and the approachability of it is what makes that game special. Not the mechanics, not the way the game works. It's all pretty basic. It does have a neat little, like, progressive cost engine. Well, it's actually a progressive cost-benefit engine, because as you build out your tableau of birds, new birds cost more, but they also provide more benefit. And so that's neat. But is it, like, game of the year neat? No. Like, why is that game so hugely widely regarded? I'm not really sure. Because it is just an iteration on things that have come before. The dice resources. We've seen lots of, roll dice and take a thing. Seasons, for instance, is a great version of that. So there's nothing new in that game. There's nothing unique. There's nothing special. It's just a cool game. And I think that when trying to design something new, something like a Wingspan, there are now dozens of designs that are trying to catch that Wingspan audience. There's, the dog park, dog walking game. There's that taking care of household plants game. There are the butterfly, there's lots of games that are now trying to kind of clone that feeling so that they can take advantage of that audience, or not necessarily take advantage of, but market to that audience. And they are all just minor iterations on the same ideas. And I think that that's okay, right? What will come out of this Viking game, whether I go with the new system or the old system, whether Mark V becomes, the way that I want to take it, or the current Mark IV iteration is the way that I continue forward, either one of those situations, they're just more of the same, right? I have a dice mechanic that is, in and of itself, in its own self-contained world, is fairly unique, but it's still just rolling dice to get resources with optional rerolls and randomness mitigation through card actions. All of those things have been done dozens and dozens of times before. You're still using these resources to build structures that give you some sort of tableau that is unique to your opponents, and you're using those actions and features and relationships of those cards to be able to build more in the future. That's all been done before, right? Vikings has been done before. Raiding has been done before. Every aspect of this game has been done before in some way, shape, or form. I'm just taking elements of other things and combining them. Is it intentional? Am I saying I'm going to take the dice rolling mechanic from this, my favorite roll and write, and I'm going to pluck that, and I'm going to take the tableau building from my favorite, terraforming Mars, and I'm going to pluck that, and then I'm going to take my favorite, resource management engine from this game, and I'm going to pluck that. No, I'm not intentionally doing any of that, but I am informed by all of those things. I am informed by all of the games that I have played that have come before this design, and I'm using pieces of those to build out what I want to see, right? The experience that I want to create. And in the end, what will come out of this, one way or the other, whether I stick with what I've currently got going and I continue to massage it, or whether I completely branch off and make this new version, what will come out of that will be a unique product that is really just more of the same. Regardless of what happens, this game is not unique. It's not its own standalone thing. And I would argue that I haven't seen a unique game in a very, very, very long time. They're all just iterations at this point. I don't know. I don't know if there will be another unique game for a very long time. If there will be another thing to clone that will be a new mechanic that nobody's thought of that we will all grasp onto. I don't know that that's going to happen again for a long time. And so right now I'm working with the skill set and the tools that I have available, which are pre-existing designs, whether my own or others. And I think what will happen is I'll produce a playable prototype, and it will be something that I try to sell for a while and ultimately end up just, that's it. It'll be my thing. And maybe I'll someday find a publisher, but honestly, I don't see that happening with this game. I thought I did. And I'm still very excited for it. And I don't want anybody to go, hey, I thought you were excited. I am excited. I'm very excited for this game. But I don't necessarily think that I'm going to find the right publisher who's willing to take a chance on the same old game, like the same old thing from new guy designer. I need to find something unique and fresh first before I can find somebody who's willing to take a chance on a tried and true design that isn't special. Or I just would have to do it myself. Especially because of the dice. The dice are a huge cost. They're a very, very, very big cost to any game. Being that both versions, whichever direction I go, are revolving around these dice. Because that is the mechanic that I've wanted to create all these years. That's not going away. And that's going to be prohibitive. I'm okay with that. I'm perfectly okay with it. Still have the train game. I think the train game is going to sell. I think that I'm really close to being able to say, all right, the couple of publishers that showed interest, I haven't shown it to them yet because the last iteration that I did, I want to play with it some more and see if there's some better ways of doing a couple of the things. But for the most part, I think it's really close to ready, and I'm pretty confident I'll find a publisher for that. I'm very confident I'll find a publisher for that. Don't know who that is yet. But I'm pretty certain that it will be, a well-known-ish publisher. And if not, I have talked to some manufacturers about it. So that game's going to happen, one way or the other. That's all I have for you today. Let me know what you think about resource management and tableau building. Like, have we stagnated? Is there something I'm missing? Is there a game out there that completely breaks the mold that I'm missing? I'd love to know about it. Let me know in the comments. Thank you for being here as always. Thank you for liking, commenting, subscribing, being amazing friends, wonderful people. I really appreciate you. And I'll see you again tomorrow. Today's word you should know to sound smart is hyperbole. It is a noun meaning an over-exaggeration made for effect. The final key to the way I promote is bravado. I play to people's fantasies. People may not always think big themselves, but they can still get very excited about those who do. That's why a little hyperbole never hurts. Donald Trump, an American entrepreneur. When was this book printed? Hyperbole. Hyperbole. I think that that quote really sets up his entire, run as our president, right? Like, it was all hyperbole, the whole thing.